Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Active Life and Fusion live streaming with Nikki. And today we're going to be looking at balances. So you've got a few minutes to gather up any bits of kit that might be useful for you, particularly a chair. If you're a bit unsteady, then having a nice thin mat, or if you're working on a hard floor like this one, then I would recommend, if you feel a bit unstable, to come off the mat. If you're on carpet, obviously that, you can't do that, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, so today we're looking back at some of the things we've done in the last few weeks, as appropriately for balances. So the chair might be useful, as I say. If you've got bricks and blocks like these as well, you could use those. If you don't have those, then you can use books or anything that will give you a little bit of stability and a little bit of support, particularly when we get down to the floor work. Okay, so give me a shout out if anybody's there. Well, there's some people watching already. No comments, so do feel free to comment. I can't always see them once I get back here on the mat because I'm a little bit blind without my reading glasses on, which these are not. So forgive me if I don't read those out, but I do read them later. And feel free, again, to send me your pictures if you're joining in with the Christmas outfits. Some of you did that last week, which was great, and I shared those on my social media pages. And you all look fantastic, and people seem to be appreciating the fact that we're trying to bring a bit of normality. Every Christmas I dress up like this, or in one of my elf outfits, which I have many. And so I just thought, we carry on as if, all of this nightmare isn't happening. And hopefully you can join in at home. Okay, even if it's a bit of tinsel, around a wrist or an ankle, anything like that, it just gives you that little bit of a boost. So we've got a few minutes to go yet, as I say. Hi, Natasha. And yeah, so today we're going to look at balances, as I say. Now, with balancing, what you want to remember is that, falling out of a balance, it's all good practice. I always say you've got to keep a sense of humor when we're doing the balancing postures, because, that's why we call it yoga practice, because we're not aiming to be perfect at everything that we're doing. And it's all good practice for what's happening in your day-to-day life, not just when you're doing your yoga. But as we start to, age, everybody's aging, then the balance starts to deteriorate. And there's several reasons for that. The vestibular system, the ears, is a big factor, and you can't really do much about that. As our cells don't regenerate so well as we age, then it's a good idea to practice so that we can compensate for that deterioration in the balance generally. And if you fall out of a balance today, you sort of stagger a bit to one side, come back again, don't worry about it. Try not to get frustrated about it. Some people's balance is just better than others anyway, same as some people are more flexible, some people are more strong, but we can work on getting that to be a little bit better by practicing it. Okay, so we've got less than 30 seconds to go before we start. Now, as I say, if you've just joined us, then having a chair, if you tend to be a little bit wobblier, is good practice today. We're going to use the back of the chair back just to hold on to when we're doing certain things for some of the balances. Okay, so we're going to start down onto the mat. So you want to make sure that you've cleared a space and not going to bash yourself on anything. You can see I've got my socks on at the moment, but I would recommend taking those off when we get to the standing work. I'll be doing the same so that you can really feel the ground underneath your feet. Okay, so coming down to the mat. This is my last class before Christmas, because obviously next Friday is Christmas Day and the one after that is New Year's Day. So you won't see me those 2 days. And then hopefully I'm back with you in the new year. But the rest of the program is continuing in one form or another. Okay. So once you lie down onto the floor, you want to check you've got enough room to stretch the arms over the head and maybe out to the sides. You can always keep the knees bent like I'm doing here, if it's difficult for you to have the legs flat because of issues with your back. But, if you can have the legs flat, then that's great. And then just bring your focus to your breath. Breathing through the nose if possible. Really feel the rise and fall of your abdomen with your breath. So if you've had a busy morning and you can feel the heart rate is a bit racy, try and concentrate on the exhalations. It might be useful to take a hand onto the abdomen. Really feel the abdomen expanding as you breathe in and drawing it downward as you breathe out. We're not rushing the breath, really allowing time for that pause between each one. And then be ready for an easy stretch. So if you can, have the legs flat. And then as you breathe in, lift the arms up towards the ceiling, exhaling them over the head. Bring the legs together, and then take a deep breath in, point the toes, tighten the buttocks, really reaching into your fingertips, and softening as you breathe out. Second stretch, flexing the feet now. So really push the heels away, lengthen into the heels and the fingers. Again, releasing on the exhalation. And then you can bring the arms down, bending the knees, and slowly hugging the knees up to the chest, knees apart, little rock, side to side. Okay, and then slipping off any socks, placing the feet down onto the mat, big gap between the feet, taking the arms wide, palms upward. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, slowly drop the knees over to the right side, keeping a decent gap between the feet and turning your head to the left. So you may feel a bit of a stretch down this top leg in particular. Again, nice deep breaths. On the inhalation, coming back to center, exhaling to the other side. Inhaling center, and then sliding the left leg flat and bring the right knee into the chest. Now you can keep the knee bent if you prefer, and we're just circling the knee, but if you can, take the knee out to the side, stretching out the leg, and then we're going to circle the leg. So if you're very loose, you could flex the foot, have the leg dead straight. If that's not you, just keep it a bit soft, keep it smaller. 3 each way. Don't forget to breathe. Then you can rest the leg flat when you finish and give it a wriggle out, and do the same with the other side. Once you've done each leg, give both legs a wriggle and rest with the soles of the feet together and the knees dropping open. Supta Badakanasana. You can take the arms wide or keep them down by the sides. I wouldn't take the arms too high today because we're just going to do something with this in a moment. And again, trying to bring the breath right down to the base of the lungs. Okay, so you can feel the soles of the feet together and the outer edges of the feet are pressing down into the floor. So we're going to press the feet together even harder and press the feet into the floor and tip the top of the pelvis back by tightening the abs a little bit and then lift the buttocks up from the floor. Now, if this is quite strong, just hold it for a couple of breaths if you can. If you're okay, 5 breaths. When you've done your 5, relaxing down, keep the feet together. We're going to do a second set, again for another 5. When you come down for the second time, sliding the legs away and give the legs a good stretch. Okay, bending the knees. Now, I'd like to have a bit of a gap between the feet, maybe a little bit wider than hip distance, and then bring your hands onto your abdomen so you can feel the position of your pelvis, so you can find that on each side. And then we're going to do some pelvic tilts alongside the breath, just to warm up into the lower back and get you used to contracting the internal muscles maybe a little bit harder. So take a nice breath in. As you exhale, we're squeezing the abs and pressing the small of the back toward the mat or the floor. On the inhalation, start to press the tailbone down. So you feel the lower back arching slightly. And then we're repeating with the breath. Exhale, squeezing the abs, pulling up pelvic floor. Inhale, a little bit of an arch, top of the pelvis tips forward. Keep that going. So it's posterior as it tilts back and anterior as it tilts forward with the pelvis. Both of these we're using in class today. So you want to make sure you can feel where the pelvis is at. Next time you exhale and the top of the pelvis tilts back, make that your last one, and then just resting at neutral. And just take a couple of breaths. Very good. Okay, so we're going to bring the knees up to the chest now, which automatically tilts the top of the pelvis backward. And we're going to do a twist. We want to try and keep the knees squeezing together and the arms wide, shoulders flat now. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, take both knees to the right and really tuck the knees up towards the arm. Hold the legs above the floor if you get all the way down as well. Inhale, we're coming back. Exhaling, other side. And each side may feel different, but the tuck up towards the arm as you go to the side is the important bit. So exhale as you twist. Inhale to return. If you get all the way down as well, as I say, that's great, but it's not, imperative that you do that. Keep the shoulders flat. You could turn the head opposite direction to the knees if it's easy. Next time the knees go to the left side without rushing, make that your last one. When you're back to center, you can place the feet down and just take a resting breath or two. Let the back release. And then rolling onto your side and coming up to sitting. Well done. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're looking at balances today. So we've done quite a few balances over the last few weeks, and depending on the area that we've been looking at, you know, some were standing balances, some might have been down on the hands and knees, etc., etc. So we're going to cover a broad spectrum, and I'm, as always, starting off with the simpler things which you can repeat again and again and again if something gets too strong for you. Remember, I can't see you, so you know, only you're the judge of that. I mentioned also, but you might have missed that right at the beginning, that with balances, it's really a good idea to practice them often, because balance deteriorates as we age for everybody, and we really want to help prevent trips and falls as we get older by having a bit of fun and just doing, you know, maybe some silly stuff today. Normally at Christmas I do this in class, and we do all sorts of things, but because we're not, you know, together, we can't do those things today, but we're doing a version of. So we're going to come up to standing. Now, if you need your chair, as I say, grab that, and it's the back of the chair that you'll want to be near you to one side. Okay, and then you're standing just in Tadasana, mountain pose. So inherently, humans are unstable because we're taller, or not so tall in my case, and we've got a smaller base to balance on. So we're trying to spread that base by spreading out the feet, spreading out the toes. Now, if you look down at your toes and we try and spread the toes out, if you grip the mat just for a second with your toes, you can feel that it actually lifts the sole of the foot. So it's counterintuitive if we start gripping with the toes. What we should really try and do is spread the toes out, and this spreads the base of the foot. Okay, so if you need to hold on to your chair, you can have that to the side. If you don't need to hold on to the chair, just have the hands prayer position, and we're lifting here at the sternum to try and elongate the spine, a little bit of tone in the lower abs, and all we're going to do is rise onto the balls of the feet, and then the heels coming back down. Now, as you rise, if you step forward, you know, there's a bit of a stagger there, you know, don't worry about it. The more relaxed we are, I think, about balancing, the easier it becomes. We want awareness, but not tension. Okay, so it is rising and falling. Don't forget to breathe. Okay, so if you're holding onto your chair, you just want a light touch so it can feel a little bit stable. And you just keep breathing. It doesn't have to be a chair. It could be the mantelpiece or side of the cupboard, anything, just to give you that little bit of security. I'm not sure you can hear clicking, but if you can, it's my ankles. Yours might be doing the same. So with feet, the funny things, you know, as we age, a lot of us tend to have problems with the feet. So it could be bunions. If, like me, you've smashed up your feet a bit, I've got a few broken bones in the past, and we have to learn how to use the foot again a lot of the time, and it can affect the balance a lot because if you've got tenderness, we start pushing the weight over, and then it throws the balance off, and what you're used to doing previously then becomes more difficult. Okay, last couple of goes. I found that when I was doing postures like Ardha Chandra, after I'd broken the side of my foot, I had big trouble trying to get that to be, I had to relearn it, you know. Good, and relax down, paddle out to the legs. Even that's quite hard on the legs, just rising and falling, and this is all good practice. Now, again, you could hold on to your chair, and I would have enough space if you're going to do keep the chair onto one side. Okay, and we're going to take the weight onto one leg and bend the opposite knee. Now, as we do that, the habit is to let the hip stick out to the side. We sink into that hip, and we really don't want to get into that habit. Okay, we want to engage the muscles, so we're not just relying on the joint stopping. So if you lift up through the chest, lengthen the spine, draw the tail under by working the abs, and think about the buttock working on this straight leg side. Okay, keep the hands on the hips if you can. If that's too much, arms wide or hold your chair, and lift the knee on the other side. So we're getting lots of information to the brain from the standing leg foot. It's, reassessing that balance the whole time. It's working this standing leg tremendously hard because your leg is very heavy. This is your heaviest bone. And now we're pushing that weight forward. So we're having to work the muscles in the buttocks, the glutes. So really think about that standing leg buttock and in your back. Keeping the chest upright will keep those muscles engaged. Don't forget to breathe. And smiling is always good. Okay, bring the leg down, paddle out the legs. If I hold any of these too long for you, then you just come out whenever you need. Again, you could hold your chair. If you're okay, bending the opposite knee. And then we're lifting the knee. Keep breathing. It may feel much easier one side than the other because we all tend to be a bit one side dominant. Good, good. And then bringing the leg down. Okay, paddle out through the legs. Okay, so we're going to go back to the first leg now. So bending through the knee, working the buttock on the standing leg side. So Vrksasana tree is a classic yoga pose. And often you'll see it done a sort of high level tree. We're going to keep it easy today, or easier today. So we're bending this knee and then we're going to turn the knee to the side. Now, as you do that, the amount of outturn, that lateral rotation you get, will depend on how tight you are in your hips. So don't worry about how far it goes, but we want the hips to still point forward. Bring the foot back to the ankle on the standing leg. And if you feel really wobbly, just try keeping the toe lightly in touch with your mat. Make sure we're not sagging on this standing side. If we're okay, bring the foot to the calf. You can really feel the muscle under the sole of the foot. And we're drawing the tailbone under. Hands together, prayer position. Now, this is a useful position with the hands. If you tend to have higher blood pressure, okay, or if you tend to get a bit of a racy heart, or balancing isn't so easy for you, keeping the hands here means that the blood pressure doesn't get pushed up when we raise the arms, and therefore it's easier to balance, okay? If you're all right, you can take the arms high, and you could take the arms wide. Feel like you're growing into your fingertips. Don't forget to breathe. If it's particularly easy, you could have the hands together. Good. Now, tree is very good for using when you're pregnant, for instance, or if you have a bad back. There's no need for a forward bend, no acid reflux, no strain on the back as such. You're still working your core hard. Very good. Slowly down with the hands. And release. Paddle out through the legs. Lovely. Let's do the other side. So we're taking the weight to the opposite leg now. And again, we're turning that knee out. So this is my stiff hip. Might be different for you, okay? So this one doesn't like to go as wide as the previous one for me. So it would be a mistake for me to start turning the pelvis. So I'm just letting the knee stop where it stops. Foot at the ankle, in touch with the mat if you need it. Or at the calf. Keep breathing. Good, good. Hands together. Remember, you can keep it here. And everybody gets wobbly days. So if normally you can do it, a much higher level than this, just take it easy. Let yourself off. Reach it up. Wider if you like with the arms. And you could even take it sort of out to here. It doesn't matter as long as we're lifting the chest, tucking the tail. And breathe. Very good. You see my ankle working hard. Excellent. Bringing the hands together, down through the center, and release the leg. Okay, paddle out through the legs. So really good for toning the legs, buttocks, as I say, without the need for a bend. So it's still working the body hard, particularly those feet. All right, so we're going to change it very slightly now. So we're going to hold the chair. And now if you're holding the chair, so if it doesn't matter if you're not, but if you're holding the chair, I want you to use the leg that is nearest to the chair. And we're going to come up. Okay, I'm trying to bring it up to hip level with this leg. So working those hip flexors, and then take the opposite hand to the leg. If we can, take the other arm out to the side. If we can't, don't worry, just keep holding the chair. Now, ideally what we want to do is turn the chest towards that outstretched hand or the chair. So we take the arm as we go and we're turning the chest. Keep breathing. Slowly bring it back and release. Okay, we're going to do that on the other side. Now I'm going to turn side on so you can see what I'm doing for the other side. So if you're using the chair, you can turn right the way around or move the chair. So other leg is lifting out at hip level. Keep breathing. Opposite hand holding the knee. Good. Other arm, stretch it out to the side if we can. Now really hold on to the outer edge of that knee and feel like we're turning the chest towards the chair or in the direction of the outstretched hand. Good. Keep breathing. Fabulous. Inhale, bring it back slowly. So that one was a bit trickier. And release the leg. Good, paddle out through the legs. Now we might come back to that one later and extend it a little bit further, but we need to get a bit of stretch going in the legs first. So I'm going to put the chair to one side. And we're going to come down to the mat. Okay, so hands and knees on the mat. Make sure you've got enough padding for your knees. You're not going to kick anything behind you. And we're in cat position to start with. No sagging in the shoulders. We're pressing firmly into the hands, tightening up through the abs. So we're drawing the tailbone underneath. So we did a bit of this, I think it was last week, where we stretched out the arms and the legs. So we're going to start off with the one arm reaching forward. Doesn't matter which one. Now, don't worry about getting the arm alongside the ear. We're just trying to keep the shoulders level without sagging in the standing arm. Feel it work in your abs. So we're balancing because we've taken away the support. Bring it down. Other side. Notice for yourself if it's easier one side than the other. Good, good. And bring it down. Okay, if you need to take the weight off your wrists, just give the wrists a little bit of a wriggle out. Good, good. Okay, now we're going to try the same thing with the legs. Now we're aiming to get the buttock and the leg in a nice long line, not necessarily too high. Okay, so we're back into our cat. Bring the knees a little bit closer together. Still, we're not sagging at the shoulders, and we're definitely not letting the bottom stick up to the ceiling. So we've got that posterior tilt that we did earlier, where we tuck the tail under, going on. One leg, stretch it out behind, push into the heel, aiming for the leg to be at the height of your body, toe pointing towards the floor. Notice that it takes the weight now off that opposite hand. So you could slide it forward and lift it, maybe alongside the head, if the shoulder allows. Make sure we're not sagging in this opposite shoulder. Excellent, and bring it down. Okay, opposite diagonal out, and do make sure you're doing opposite arm and leg. Otherwise you're doing the advanced version. I always say that in class, but somebody always tries it. Okay, so opposite leg out. And then notice it's light on the other hand, and we reach forward. And then we're bringing it down to the mat and sitting back, take the weight off the wrists. Well done, and wriggle out through the wrists. So again, good core exercises, and that's basically what we're doing with our balancing, is working that core hard, but obviously it's working arms, legs, the shoulders in this one in particular. Now, if we start moving with the balances, This is going to make it inherently trickier to maintain the stable position that we're looking for through the core of the body, okay? So it doesn't matter how high with the leg and the arm, as I've said, it's the movement and keeping the stability so we're not, falling as we're doing the movement. So we are here back in our cat position, pressing firmly, tucking the tail under. We want an opposite arm and leg reaching out. And then what we're going to do is sweep the arm behind, bend the knee of the opposite leg and try and touch the foot and then stretch it out. Again, we're going to do that 3 times on one diagonal. Don't worry if you can't find your foot, okay? Because sometimes you might be a bit tighter through the front of the leg and hip, okay? So when you're ready with me now, so we're one arm, opposite leg, doesn't matter which side. So we're sweeping it behind and touch. Stretch it forward. Again. Forward. Last time. Forward and bring it down. Okay. Other side. 1, 2, and 3. Lovely. And again, take the weight off the wrists. And give it a little stretch out. Okay, now, if you've not got bricks and blocks, like the ones I've got here, and you have maybe 2 socks, 2 shoes, anything that you can use, grab those now, and we're going to come to sit on the mat. They're really a training tool for what we're going to do next. So we're going to sit on the mat, and you want to take the flesh back from the sitting bones so that you can feel the bottom of your pelvis grounding down into the floor. Okay, and my legs are extended. Now, I did this a few weeks ago, and we looked at legs and hips. But the reason I'm covering it again today is that we really want to make sure we can engage the hip flexors and the quads in the right way to help us with the balance. Okay, so down the front of your thighs here is your quads. If you put your hands onto your thighs, I want you to tighten one leg and release, and then the other leg and release. Now, as you do that, you don't necessarily need movement into your foot because a lot of people tighten and release, tighten and release. This is a different thing altogether. We just want to tighten these muscles on each side. Just practicing that. I don't know if you can see that on the camera because I've got stripy trousers on, just about. Okay, and then just rub out through the legs. Now that might be quite strong in itself, and you could repeat that if you like. Now, one of the muscles that comes down the front here is one of your hip flexors. Okay, your main hip flexor being part of your core. So iliopsoas is very large muscle attached to the spine on the inside and then attached to the inside of your leg and out to the side of the pelvis. And it hauls your leg up and down all day as you're walking around. But in this position, what we're doing is engaging that as well as the other hip flexors to lift the leg towards the body, like so. Okay, but what we don't want to do is tighten the leg and just lean to get the lift. We're trying to actually get a bit of lift. So I want you to practice that. I'm trying to make my mic stop squeaking. On each side. See if you can get a bit of lift. Now, some of you are well used to doing this in my classes. And what you can do, take it a bit further, is you lift the leg, tap over your support, or your socks, or your shoes, or whatever you're using, like this. Okay, so we're starting to move and work more of the leg and the hip, strengthening, and we're pumping those muscles up, ready for our balance. It's also working the abs a little bit if you're keeping your body upright. Last couple. Okay, and then you might really feel that working down the leg. So just give it a little rub out if that's you. Okay, and then you can put those to one side. Now, Navasana and variations on Navasana, boat pose, is very strong into the legs and the core. And it can be a tricky balance. The first thing to think about is as you sit down into the floor, if you lean back slightly, does your coccyx feel like it's digging in the floor? if it does, because some people have a very long tailbone, have a bit of padding. I don't have that issue, but some people do. So have a little bit of extra padding under your bottom, if that's you. Even if it's a folded blanket, that can sometimes help. Okay, and then we're going to bring the feet together, Badakanasana, and you could hold onto the ankles and lift through the chest. Good, we're trying to lengthen into the back. Okay, so the back is nice and straight currently, and we're going to try and keep it like that when we do the balancing. So I'm going to turn side on so that you can see, or sort of quarter on really, so you can see more of what's happening with my back. Okay. Hopefully you can still see what's happening with my legs. That's very good. Okay. Now, if you can hold your toes and walk the feet in even more and lift at the sternum, what we want to do is lift one foot as we lean back and then the other, keeping the back straight enough. And this is a balance. As I say, if you feel the tailbone sticking down into the floor, then a little bit of padding might be needed. You might feel that now. Keep breathing. Good, good. And then bring it back. If you need to stretch the legs out, give the legs a little wriggle, that's absolutely fine. Now, undoubtedly, when we do certain poses, the proportion of your body, as well as your flexibility and your strength, plays a big, big part. So for me, Navasana is not too bad because A, I'm strong, but B, I've got short legs and a long body. If you've got long legs, okay, or you've got a bigger tummy, that sort of thing, then it's more difficult to get into the starting position. That's just a fact, okay? So you could use a brick or a couple of books, if that's you, and you could have it here in front and rest your feet onto it. This is if you find it hard to get the legs off the ground, okay? You could use it as like a bit of a, what's the word, booster cushion, yeah? So we're trying to lift up here, so it's not so far to haul your feet from the ground. We're lifting the chest, lifting one foot, matching it with the other. Now I'm using the yoga grip on the toes, okay, but you could hold the outer edges of your feet or your ankles if that's easier. You know, just take it at your pace. Keep breathing. Now, if you can, we're going to take one leg out to the side, even if you can't straighten it, like I've got the knee bent here. If you can straighten it, great. Okay, bring it in, do the other side, and bring it in. We do that a couple of times each side. Keep breathing. So it's getting the stretch now inside the leg and hip, as well as the back side of the leg, and the work in the core. As you bring one leg in, take the other leg out. A bit like the hokey cokey. One last time. And then bring the feet down either to your support or to the floor. Okay, again, give the legs a little wriggle out. Now, when we do full Navasana, the legs are not going out to the sides. We're not doing the one that I sometimes do where we let go of the legs. We're not doing that one today because that is quite strong. With Ardha Navasana, so Ardha is half, so half Navasana or full Navasana, the legs are coming up and out in front. So the further away from the body the legs go, the more load you're putting onto your core, okay, particularly your back in this case, because of the hip flexor attachment, okay? So what we want to think about is keeping the chest elevated to straighten the back and not taking the legs up too much if you've got tight hamstrings, because the legs won't go straight without the back collapsing, and we don't want that, okay? So much better to have a bent knee and a straight back. All right, so from the side, we're here now. I've got my legs in line, so not necessarily together. As I mentioned, if you've got a bigger tummy, so I like a bit of a gap between the feet, then it's easier to have a big gap between the legs. I'm doing it side on so you can see my back, and I'm tucking my hands underneath the back of my knee, just lightly, to give support. Lift the chest, walk the feet in, and lift the feet just off the floor. Now, really tighten through here, like we did earlier, and feel like you're pulling your legs towards your body and lift your chest. If you can let go, then do reach the arms forward. Always stick at the lower level if it's too much strain. A couple of breaths. And release it down. Good. Again, you can slide the legs, wriggle out through the legs. Now, you stick at the pace that's good for you. I'm going to take it up, one bit at a time. So we're going back to that. Lift the feet, arms forward. Now, one leg at a time. Shins are parallel with the floor and down. Other leg and down. Keep breathing. If you can do both legs and hold. Ardha Navasana. Good, good. Feel those hip flexors burning. And bring it down. So you might really feel it in here on that secondary hip flexor. Give it a little rub out, okay, on each side. Okay, so we're going to stretch out from that by doing a bit of a lunge. If you need padding for your knees, then grab your pad. That's what I'm using underneath my knee. We've done this lots of times. We go up to kneeling on one side. Again, I'm going to stride forward, opposite leg. Now, if this is wobbly for you, because it is a balance of sorts, you take the front foot a little bit further out to the side, sinking the hips forward. You feel that stretch now, where we were just working down the front of that leg and into the hip, lifting the chest. This is stretching out your hip flexors now. Keep breathing. You can take the arms wide if you're okay. Bring the arms up. Anjani-asana. We're lifting the chest, lifting the chin. Imagine trying to touch the wall behind you with your fingertips. Exhale, we're bringing the hands down and then switch to the other side. So we did some of this last week when we looked at a different balance, Nataraja, a dancer. So each side may feel different, so we just take it at your pace. Feel that stretch here again. Arms either wide, chest up, or reaching the arms up. Keep breathing. Okay, good. Lovely. And slowly bringing the arms down. Well done. Okay. Releasing the pad. We're going to come back to standing. And we're going to concentrate a little bit on the arms. However, having your chair handy for the next bit might also be useful. So I'm going to bring that back. Okay, so Garuda, which is eagle pose, is quite challenging. It stretches the outer part of the leg and hip, as well as inside at the groin. So it's a really good stretch for the hips. But it also stretches into the shoulders. Now, shoulders, being funny things that they are, some people have a real issue with the shoulder part of the stretch. Me in particular, when I've had issues with my rotator cuff in my shoulders. So what I'm going to do is do it really slowly, bit by bit, the shoulder part. And if you feel any pain, you don't want to work into that. Okay, it's just feeling a good stretch. It's going to move the shoulder blades apart and it's working into the chest. So it can also elevate the blood pressure. So we want to make sure that we can still breathe. The heart starts racing. Don't wait for me to say come out. Okay, so just standing nice and easy. Forget about the legs for the moment. We're going to take one arm out in front and then you're just going to bend the elbow so fingers are pointing up. Now draw the elbow towards the center line of your body. Now as you do that, you may feel the work around this part here and you may feel it here into the collarbone. If it feels okay, take the other hand to the outer part of the elbow and pull it over a little bit more, guiding it towards the center. If that feels perfectly fine, you may be able to stretch the other arm, crook of the elbow wrapping underneath the first elbow, hands wrapping around. So from the side, you can see this. And then we're aiming to lift the elbows. This is the tricky part. Shoulder height. Keep breathing. It's also stretching trapezius in the back. So to get a lengthwise stretch as well, you could tuck the chin down. And breathe. Keep the tail under. Lifting the chin now to release. Remember which arm is closest to your body. And release and roll out through the shoulders. Okay, so we do that on the other side, which may feel very different. So we bring the arm forward, bending the elbow, draw the elbow inward. So I've got a little bit of weakness there. It actually makes mine shake a bit. Maybe you felt that too. And then take your hand on the outer part of the elbow, draw it in. If it feels okay and you want the extra, tucking the elbow underneath. And you can see it's a bit tight for me this side. So if that's you as well, even if the hands don't touch, you're still getting a good stretch. Lift the elbows. Again, from the side. You might want to tuck the chin down now. Make sure you're not sticking the bottom out. A few breaths. And lift the chin, unwrap the arms and roll out through the shoulders. Very good. Okay, now forgetting about the arms now, we're going to concentrate on the legs. So you may want to hold onto your chair. It is a one-legged balance. So spreading out those toes on the foot that you're standing on. Now, the important thing is keeping the standing leg bent. Okay, so you may feel as you do that, a stretch in your calves. All right. And if, like me, you don't have a thigh gap, doing a really big stretch round with the leg will give you a better crossover than just doing this. Okay. What we're aiming to do is really wrap the top leg all the way around the underside leg and your foot ending up behind the calf like this, but obviously with the leg wrapped over. One side may feel very different to the other. So hold on to your support if you need it, but bending both knees, lift the leg and wrap it all the way around. And if you can, you tuck the foot behind the calf. Tighten up through the abs. And if you can let go, bring the hands to prayer position. Keep breathing. So still a good bend in the standing leg. Excellent. Okay, ready to come out. So we're unwrapping and then paddle out through the legs. Okay, we're going to try that on the other side. So we're bending the knees. Hold the support if you need it. And then the other leg, lifting, really wrapping around. You can see here, my foot doesn't go behind because this is my stiffer hip. Hands to prayer position. So despite what everybody thinks, yoga teachers are not bendy wendies. We're not just like pipe cleaner people. We have stiff points, weak points as well. Most of us, like everybody. Good, good. Slowly unwrapping. Okay, and paddle out the legs. Now, if you can only do the leg part or the arm part, absolutely fine. Still working hard. We're going to try now to do the two things together. So we're going to do the legs first and then the arms. So if you can hold, if you need to hold on, you can at least do that until you need to let go with the arm. Okay. So the leg nearest to the chair, bend the knees. We're going to wrap that leg over first. So it doesn't matter which one you're doing if you're not holding on to something. Okay. Then bring the arms up. Now the top leg, the arm that matches, is going to be the underneath arm. Then lift the elbows. And if you can, tuck the chin. And breathe. Slowly unwrapping. Well done. Paddle out through the legs. Okay, other side. Bend the knees. Other leg, big wrap over. Tuck it behind if you can. Arms are coming up. So remember, the arm that matches that top leg is going to be the one that goes underneath. Lift the elbows. Keep breathing. Good, good. Slowly releasing. Whew. And paddle out the legs. Okay, take a couple of breaths. Nice. All right, so again, we can hold on to the chair now, and we're going to stretch the leg in a different way. So earlier, we brought the leg up in front and we brought it across the body. Now we're going to take it out to the side, okay? So it starts to work the obliques down the side of the trunk a bit harder. And of course, we want to make sure that we're working front and back of the body as well for balance. So taking the weight onto one leg, and if you're using the chair, make it the one nearest to the chair, lifting the opposite knee, straight out in front. Good, good. Now, what we prefer is an upright back, because that's the anchor point. Okay, so that's your stability, and a bent knee. Okay, if you can do a straight leg and a straight back, fantastic, but I'll show you the stages. So I'm going to bend down to pick up my toe, because you might have to do the same. And then I want you to lift so the back is straight and you've lifted that knee higher. See if you can take the leg out to the side. And if the knee is bent like this, better that than if you straighten the leg and lean forward. If you can do both, then do. If you don't need the support, you could have the arm wide or the hand on the hip. Badakanasana. Okay, slow release. Well done. Paddle out through the legs. Again, if you need the chair, put it onto the other side. I'm just going to come forward. Okay, so other leg, bringing the knee up. Holding that leg. Okay, so bring the arm inside. If you need to bend like this, make sure you bring the chest up. Remember, you can have the arm wide. Slowly lengthening the leg. So we're loading the weight, especially as the leg goes further out. Keep breathing. If you don't need the arm extended, you can have the hand on the hip. Excellent. And release. Lovely. Paddle out through the legs. Okay, so to finish off, we're going to go back to the twist that we did. So remember this one where if we were holding the chair here, we brought the opposite hand and then we turned towards the chair. Okay, so we're going to extend that one by trying to lengthen out the leg that's elevated. So if you're holding on to the chair, standing side on, and it will be the knee that's closest to the chair that you will lift. So I'll do it with the chair for the first side. So we lift the knee, opposite hand coming onto the knee, chest is elevated. If you don't need the chair, you can have the arm out. And then we're turning chest towards the knee, or the arm is going behind. Keep breathing. Now maybe you can just stretch out the leg here. If you can hold the toe, the outer edge of the foot, then you hold the outer edge of the foot. Keep that twist as you extend the leg. Slowly, slowly bend the knee, untwisting. I'm going to try that on the other side. So I'll turn side on so you can see me here. Okay, move the chair or move your body if you need the chair. So, knee coming up, opposite hand holding the knee. We take the arm wide, nice bit of rotation with the upper body. Maybe you could extend the leg. If you can go further, we're holding outer edge of the foot and stretching out the leg. Push against the leg. Great. Let me keep that sense of humor. And slowly release. Well done. Whew. And paddle out through the legs. All right, so we want to move the chairs out of the way now. And we're going to come down to the mat for a twist before relaxation. Okay. So just take a moment to lay on your back, knees bent. So all of that standing work that we just did can elevate the heart rate. So just take a couple of resting breaths. Okay, with the knees bent, I'd like to have the soles of the feet on the floor and bring the inside of your legs to touch together. The arms are wide. If you think you might be a bit stiffer, having your bricks and blocks or your books handy can be good. We're going to cross the right leg over the left leg at the thigh. So right over as far as you can. And then lift the bottom over to the right side and down. And we're going to slowly drop the knees over to the left. Now, if you get so far and you think, I couldn't possibly go any further, you can use your bricks and books to support that leg. So it's bringing you into a twist, but not too strong. If you know you're a bit looser and you can go further down with the legs, maybe all the way to the floor, you could take your left hand and hold that right knee and really trying to release that right shoulder back to the floor. If you're very loose, you could look along this right arm and breathe. Okay, on the inhalation, we're going to come up and cross the top leg, lifting yourself back to center. Start again with the legs together, ready for the other side. So left leg over right, bottom to the left and down, and then slowly drop the knees to the right. Again, use any props that you feel necessary. We're trying to relax into that left shoulder. You may feel the stretch through the outer leg and hip, buttock, or even up into the lower back. And on the inhalation, slowly coming up. Uncross the leg, lifting yourself back to center. Just take a couple of resting breaths. And then it'd be time to relax. So if you want to put on your socks and tops, and then you can adopt a comfortable position for you. So if you like to have the legs elevated, as I think we did last week, you could have your legs up onto the chair if that's what you prefer. If that's not something that you like to do, you can just lay flat in Shavasana or corpse pose. But you just want to be comfortable into the lower back and making sure that you're warm enough. You don't want to cool down too quickly. Okay. If you've got the knees bent like this and you have the feet apart, you could always drop the legs towards the center. They won't necessarily touch, but it's just a way of letting the legs relax and the lower back to release too. And you could just close your eyes. If you're wearing glasses, you might like to take those off. Focus on the breathing, just following the breath in and following the breath out, really trying to sink down into the floor. So we're not holding on. We're releasing as we exhale. To the back of the head feeling heavy. Softening the brow and around the eyes. Relaxing through the jaw. Maybe the teeth are slightly apart. So the back of the neck is long. Let the shoulders sink as the arms release. And your breath flowing easily in and out. Let the abdomen spread, buttocks are soft, the legs feeling heavy now, releasing all the way to the toes. And then through the nose, take a nice long deep breath in. And through the nose, a full deep breath out. Inhale, lifting the arms up. Exhaling over the head. And then have a good stretch, however feels best for you. Once you've had a good stretch, bending the knees. And maybe you'd like to bring the knees up for a little rock. Slowly coming back to sitting. Use any props you need. Have the hands together, prayer position, heart center. Really lifting the sternum. Inhale, stretching up, look up. Exhale, wide and down with the arms. Tuck the chin, drop the shoulders. Then arms wide, reach it up. Hands together, exhale to heart center. Namaste. Lovely, thank you everybody for joining me. Stick with Active Life and Fusion over Christmas. Like I say, the timetable will be up today, if it's not up there already, with the classes that are going to be on. I won't be here next week because it's Christmas Day, and I won't be here the week after because it's New Year's Day, but I'll be back with you hopefully after that. Have a fantastic Christmas and New Year, and I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye-bye.